Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima and I'm here checking out Mary Skelter Nightmares. This is the latest dungeon crawler from Idea Factory International, who previously brought you Make You Labyrinth of Death, which I recalled had a neat idea, but didn't stray too much from the typical dungeon crawling formula, but it was still okay in the grand scheme of things if you were absolutely desperate for a dungeon crawler. And you wonder why I bring that up. You absolutely do. I'm sure you'll be able to figure out why. I don't think my audience is that retarded. Let's go have a quick look around first. You can change a bunch of usual settings you expect in this sort of thing. Notably, there's actually 2 voice languages in this one. I've mainly been playing on the English dub, which, to be absolutely fair to it, is well, I don't want to call it a decent dub, but it's an average dub. It's fine. It's well, it's not so much borderline. It's baseline English, and I really don't have that big of a problem with it for what is obviously such a niche production. And it's better than a lot of English dubs I've been hearing recently, so I'm more than happy to let it slide. And I'm going to let you hear some of it in one of my save games before we get into another save game. Thanks for telling me that the voice and the sound effects and the background music have 10 individual volumes. When you load into the game, you can also change the difficulty between Dream, the normal difficulty, and the Hell difficulty, or whatever the hell it's called. And I'll get onto what they do later on. So, there is also a bonus screen, which is kind of neat. It has gallery, music, character art, and heroine memories. I assume these are all side things, but notably there's also a novel, and this is actually a novel prequel to the game itself, focused around 2 other protagonists, but, well, they only give you a few pages at a time. They've only given me 10 pages so far, and you have to go and find the rest, which is a little bit weird. I'm not entirely sure why that's a thing. I'm really not. I wonder why they just don't give it to you all in one go, because apparently the novel takes place all the way up to the game's prologue, which is, you know, reasonable. So why they're hiding it, I'm not particularly sure. So here are my 3 save games. I've got 1 save game near a nightmare battle, just in case we need it. I have 1 save game near a cutscene, which is literally right at the very beginning, because I thought to myself as I was watching the particular cutscene, what if they don't give me a cutscene with as many voices as this? And boy, did I prove myself to be extremely capable of predicting this shit, because that's exactly what I managed to find. And my 3rd save game down here is my actual save game. It says it's been 4 hours, but with the amount of times I've been thrown back to the game, with the amount of times I've been thrown back to the title screen, because the game's like, oh, I'm just gonna throw like 7 monsters at you that can each hit you like twice before you can even go, or stupid shit like that. It can tend to send you back to the tile screen, and of course you need to save manually, so that's a bit of a pain in the ass. We're going to load into this cutscene here. Now, this cutscene here, well, it's not even a cutscene really, it's a little bit before a cutscene, and this part of the cutscene, or this part of the game, literally I just need to get out the front door, which is, well, it's not that far, but I still have to make a run for it anyway, and there's some annoying stuff there's some annoying stuff down here that might happen, like I might actually end up in the middle of a fight. Yep, it's actually gonna put me into a fight, never mind. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna jump forward once I actually get the cutscene and all that. Alright, that took a couple of minutes, so let's get on to the actual cutscene, shall we?
All right, that should do the trick.
Thank you very much.
Is Jack going to be okay?
Yes. He was bleeding, but it wasn't as bad as expected. He does have mild anemia, though.
I see.
He's all patched up, so the bleeding should subside shortly. I'll be back to check on him.
Thank you very much.
And about Alice?
She's doing fine. Not bad for her first fight. I mean, she did fight them right.
She sure did. Alice was a lot stronger than I thought. I think we hit the jackpot with her. In any case, let me introduce them. This girl here is Alice. She's an actual blood maiden.
Nice to meet you.
The guy here is Jack. He's,
Why didn't you leave him here with the others who escaped? Why did you bring him here?
Oh, well, about that. Dad, I have something to report to you.
So you're telling me she ended her blood Skelter state by attacking that boy there?
It can't be.
I ain't buying that.
It's true. Alice won't be like that anymore. She's not gonna harm anyone.
Jack.
Jack, was it? Well, don't worry. I can tell she's back to normal.
Thank you.
It's no surprise everyone's doubtful, and I do have more questions to ask. In any case, Jack and Alice, welcome to the Dawn.
The Dawn?
Dawn is short for the Dawn Liberation Force.
And this Dawn is...
Think of it as an autonomous organization formed to oppose the Martians in the jail. All the basic functions of a city can be found here. It's also where those who escape can survive.
the functions of a city. Wow.
And this place is the Dawn's headquarters.
It's the last fortress around for us humans.
The last fortress.
Last isn't quite accurate. The Dawn exists to find a way of escaping from jail.
Escaping from jail?
You do know the basics of what the jail is, right?
Not in detail, but I heard it consumed a city that used to be above ground. That it's alive.
And also that the Martians were originally humans and animals.
One minor correction. The jail's consumption of the organic and inorganic is called mimicry.
Mimicry?
To be exact, the jail is able to absorb information from a subject to alter its own form. Most prominently affected are the Martians. Like Alice said, their forms were altered by the jail. Leading them are the Nightmares, who never die. They're the major obstacle in our plan to escape. The Dawn is, so to speak, a crystal of knowledge for us humans shut in this dark world. Our mission is to use our research to escape. Through that research, we discovered the Blood Maidens. The Blood Maidens are humans who possess supernatural powers which allow them to face the Martians.
You already know this after fighting them, right, Alice?
Yes. But
Do you know about the tower in the middle of the jail?
Yes.
We found out that this tower grows upward through some special means. If we can grow it high enough, we can escape to the surface. That's where the Blood Maidens come in. Alice?
yes.
Hang on, let me just skip through this just a little bit for you. So, I think someone else might... No, that's pretty much all the voice talent there is in this cutscene anyway. So, yeah, the game's got an absolute ton of these scenes. It is a lot more visual novel than the other dungeon crawlers I've seen from this particular team. And as you can see, the voices actually cut out a lot for some reason. There's not that much English voice acting. I imagine there's probably more Japanese voice acting, but I haven't taken the time to check out that version of the voices yet, so it's just a little odd, but nothing particularly annoying. And there is a fair few other voice actors in the game as well that show up from time to time, but yeah, for the most part, this dub's fine. Like, I haven't cringed while I was watching it, and I haven't noticed anything major, like with East, how I complained that some of the voice lines just seem completely out of nowhere, or entirely in the wrong sort of context with the amount of emotion they're putting into it. But yeah, this dub doesn't have that problem at all. So yeah, it just sends us straight on chapter 1, but we're not going to be doing that.
Hey, it looks like everyone's gathered.
Oh yeah, there are these cutscenes with these two talking about something, I don't know. I haven't seen that much of the actual plot yet, so why they're all named after fairy tale characters, I don't know. And in the dungeons, there aren't actually much in the way of fairy tale references. I mean, you see a couple of things, like you hear a few familiar melodies in the background, and you hear, obviously, the names of the characters and all that, but other than that, there's not really that much to it. Oh, there is a couple of other things, like there's, poison arrows for whatever, poison bombs, I should say, and just some other weird shit, but yeah, these cutscenes take a really long time to get through. There's massive amounts of text in them. I was hoping that I could skip it, but no. I mean, skip it completely, but I'm probably just gonna have to... Nope, thank God it stopped. Oh man, right there and then. And tutorial that I've already seen, so we don't need to worry about them. Come on, just let me through to the save screen, please. Or the load screen, I should say. So, let's load up into the save game where I've just unlocked the temple, and we're going to go explore the temple, because the temple is the dungeon that I've just unlocked. I've been through the game's first 2 dungeons, which are the graveyard and the tower. The tower we escaped from previously, before I did the first jump cut. So, there's not that much to see out here, so we're just going to do that real quick. Where's the general store? I just realized that the store isn't actually here in the main menu for some reason. That's kind of... Oh, right, yeah. I'm guessing you have to watch that event before the store comes back. Never mind then. Store, pretty basic. Buy and sell shit. We've got a few other things we can do here as well, like the rescue center, but purge a character's corruption.
You want to do a purge?
Now, for whatever reason... Wow, I actually need,
Don't have enough blood.
Why do I actually... Really? I need to go and actually get some blood before I can do that. Don't worry, it'll probably send me back here eventually. That is the typical Idea Factory Grobathon that they generally have. Oh, and we have to do more text events. I could actually go out into the temple. Like I did before I went and did this save, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. But anyway, you can go to the blood weapon factory to upgrade your weapons using blood crystals. And it's literally just you strengthen them using blood crystals you find out in the world, and you can give them extra stats. Very basic stuff. You can also do it to stuff that you're holding on to. You have the laboratory, which you can go to expand your skill slots, so you get extra skills, you can change your jobs, and you can blood devolution, which is literally just level your character down for more leveling bonuses. We'll get on to how all that works shortly. You can also go to the living quarters, and when you go to the living quarters, wow, it actually gave me an event. I already raised her affection up to like 2 hearts before this, but I'm guessing I had to get to a specific point in the story before it actually let me do them. Still no voice acting. Okay, so apparently it's going to let me actually give her interior decorating stuff. Now, I've had a bunch of interior decorating stuff for a while. But yeah, that was just a pretty simple scene based on my little skim reading there. So you can give them gifts, and some of them they'll like, some of them they'll really like, some of them they'll hate. But as far as I can tell, it doesn't really do much in the actual game. I'm not entirely sure what the deal is there, but there you go. So, back out. If we go... Oh yeah, there's the store. Not entirely sure why it wasn't available, but we can come here and buy and sell stuff. Mainly just consumables and some stuff that we can use to spruce up their place. But generally you want to hold on to your gold for the actual important stuff. Although you do have stuff you can sell, but not very much of it. Like, see, these 3 items here are the only consumable sellables I've gotten in a while. The rest has just been minor pickups, which you kind of want to hold on to. Mainly for the reason that it's actually quite useful. If you go to the Orders HQ, you can get side quests. So I've done one here. Get 30 blood splatters, gives me a bunch of items, and you can also see a bunch of quests here. And I believe you can take as many as you want. I mean, seriously, if you're able, God, I can't speak today. If you're able to take like 20 quests here, you can probably take as many as you like. And they just trade items for items, more or less, or goals for items, or what have you. So, we'll just head out into the temple, shall we? It's the 3rd area in the game, as I said before. Actually, it's not. You could go downtown if you wanted to, which is probably the Big Ben-inspired thing over on the left there, because the game does ask you which one you want to go to first, but, you know, still, 3rd area. And I've played through the game's first 2 areas, so I like to think I've got a pretty good grasp on what the game's gameplay is like, because it's a dungeon crawler. One thing I want to draw attention to immediately is that the game's performance is terrible. Now, I don't know what the deal with this is. It just, like, look out that way. See that fog out there? That's the draw distance. Draw distance, this is basically a PlayStation 1 title. where there's draw distance, and yet, like, you can feel it when you're interacting with the controls. Everything just feels slow, stiff, and unresponsive. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not entirely sure what the big deal is here, but it just doesn't seem to want to work properly. But anyway, the dungeon crawling is pretty basic stuff for the most part. You find treasure chests and gathering points that you can... The gathering points you can go to repeatedly every time you come back into the dungeon, so, you know, that's pretty basic. And there's stuff that you can fuck around with while you're in here. So, for example, you can see that I've got blood abilities that I'm cycling through right now with the right analog stick, and I can press the circle button to activate them, and these will all get me through different kinds of environmental obstacles. There is also Tiny Princess, which apparently gives you a shrunken item. I'm not entirely sure what the deal with that is. And you've also got the Rabbit Hole, which is the most useful ability of all, because it lets you go right back to town from anywhere in the bloody game. So you do want that as much as humanly possible. Unfortunately, the one place I can think of where I really want to use it, it doesn't actually work, which is kind of annoying. But anyway, we'll just go wandering through here before we actually go through our menu diving. I just want you to know that I am actually on the easy difficulty right now, because there is just some shit in this game that just frustrated me to no end, and putting down the difficulty helped with that. So, here we are in our first battle of the video. We have 3 enemies. Now, this game does have a few unique little mechanics that it's got going for it. We have our own guy on the side here who can do any one of a number of things, but we'll just have him charge up his blood gun for now, because that's probably the best thing to do. 3 different kinds of enemies. It's pretty much impossible to tell what their environmental weaknesses and stuff are without actually attacking them with all the related stuff first, but thankfully I appear to be able to take these guys down in 2 hits. Everybody has regular attacks and skills, which are your particular spells. They annoy me. We'll get onto why shortly. They can defend and they can try and run for it. Everyone can try and run for it, which is nice. And Thumbelina is my attacking mage. Alice is currently my massive damage dealer. I don't know what the girl 4th from the top does. She's a little bit more of a all-rounder. We got a archer up the top. Seriously, it's a little bit hard to tell what they're meant to do in their initial roles, but they do have different individual jobs they can change to. However, that takes a lot of resources, and we'll get into why that whole resource system is annoying as well. But anyway, finish the battle, everyone levels up, nothing particularly out of the ordinary happened. There's a couple other things that are going on here. As you can see, well, as you couldn't see because I wasn't looking in that direction, but that samurai statue would have shopped me a new one if I'd stood in it for too long. So yeah, it's pretty basic dungeon crawling for the most part. You've just got to wander around, try and find levers to open doors, use your abilities where they're appropriate. Nothing particularly groundbreaking, and it's kind of annoying if you want me to be honest, just because it just doesn't really do anything to take advantage of the fact that it's like a fairy tale. Okay, this is a preset encounter here. So, a couple more details about the game's mechanics. Mr. Jack's Mary gun, I don't know why they call it that, can fully remove a Blood Maiden's corruption and undo the Blood Maiden's Blood Skelter state. Now, what does that mean? That means, well, right, I'm going to have to go more into detail about this, aren't I? So, also, he can guard, and he can choose to guard someone, and if someone attacks, he has a chance of getting knocked out by it. If he gets knocked out enough times by it, he won't be able to get back up to help out. So you do kind of want to not risk him if you're going to need, like, the ability to use items and stuff. Just FYI. But anyway, how do the weirder systems in this game work? So, you can see below each particular character there, they have a blood meter. And when this blood meter fills up, they get the ability to go into the, I think it's called the massacre mode, where they basically just become ridiculously more powerful, right? Really basic stuff. And you can actually do things like create blood spurts by getting critical hits or by getting the right weakness going. And once you get enough of them, it'll fill the hunger bonus, which you can then use to get a special ability on this little roulette here. The other two are do things in the dungeon, and I don't even know what the ZZZ one is. The dungeon is sleeping, and it implies that you need to be quiet while you're going about your business in the dungeon, but I have no idea what that means. I can't seem to get that to raise consistently, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. The tutorial does say you need to do something along the lines of be quiet, but I'm not even sure what that means. And the game doesn't really help out with that. But anyway, I better heal up that girl because she's going to get knocked down in the next fight if I don't. We'll get around to all this stuff in the menu shortly. I would like to not bore you with this right off the bat. So let's continue on, shall we? That's a dead end. But yeah, as I was saying, once their blood fills all the way up, they can go into massacre mode, which means they do an absolute ton of extra damage. However, they can also be afflicted with corruption, and what corruption does is, you can see how the girl in the middle, that's Alice. Alice, whenever that fills up completely, and this can happen for everybody, it's not just Alice, whenever bad things happen like blood splatters or stuff like that, and you're in the corruption mode, you will end up filling this completely, and when you do, you'll go into Mary Skelter mode, and Mary Skelter mode is literally just a huge, like, rage mode, where they'll attack just everybody. And you just need to fire off the Mary Skelter gun, but you have a high chance of getting knocked out if you have to do that, but you'll do it at the end of the battle with a lot less penalty, I should say. You do end up losing blood for it, but you can't get knocked out mid-fight by it, which is nice. But yeah, that means you have to save up a lot of your blood as Jack, because if you don't, you will end up with... You might end up running into problems, because it is kind of hard to tone down corruption once it gets going, at least as far as I've been able to tell. You can purify, or whatever the bloody hell they called it, people, but I have only just unlocked that mechanic, as you saw via the actual gameplay, so managing it in the first few hours is actually a bit of a dick, just because you have to really work hard against it. I don't know what the jar reacting is supposed to mean. That just seems to happen at random. There is also something else that happens at random. And that is the... That is the Nightmare Chasers. Now, the Nightmare Chasers are the most annoying part of this game, because the way Nightmare Chasers work is nightmares, by default, are monsters that can't typically be hurt. So you end up having to fight these bastards, and... Except you don't really have to fight them. What happens is the entire screen goes dark, you get warned that they're on the way, and when that happens, you basically have to leg it. You have to run for it. They give you a rough idea of where he spawns, and they give you an idea of how slowly... They give you an idea of how far away you are from him. So you basically just have to leg it across the dungeon. And, right, yeah, she's the mage. I can't afford to be doing physical attacks with the mage. You just have to leg it across the freaking dungeon and hope you actually get out of the way. No, I'm not joking. And this actually happens in real time, too, which is even worse. Just because, considering that it happens in real time, you can't really stop and think about what you're doing, which is kind of a pain in the ass. Because I was playing on normal difficulty to begin with, right? Nothing particularly out of the ordinary. However, on normal difficulty, when you start getting chased by the nightmare, you lose your minimap, so I'd end up losing my general sense of direction. And you end up having to run around like a chicken with its head cut off looking for the way out, and it appears that she's been poisoned, so I better go and take care of that. Thankfully, I've been saving a bunch of these just for that particular purpose. There we go. And if the nightmare catches up to you, it's the most annoying thing in the world, because when it does, I'm hoping that it'll come up at some point, because it can literally come up at random. Like, I've literally had it show up, like, 15 steps into the dungeon twice in a row, and I've basically just had to fight it off and then run for it, because as I've said, you can't beat the bastards. So you have to just run for it and hope you get away, and if you don't, you'll end up having to fight the damn thing, and you just have to knock a piece off it, while it's doing massive amounts of damage to you in singular attacks. It's really frustrating just because of how much damage it can do. Most of the monsters in this game are kind of like child's play, more or less. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, and there are ways around, like, you know, not having that much in the way of recovery magic or what have you. There are a few things like that. For example, everybody's blood's up at a good spot now, so I can actually afford to do this. Now... Everyone has the ability to lick their teammates, and if the right teammate licks the right person, you'll get a specific ability out of it. So if I were to lick Alice right now, I'd basically heal everyone up, and that's kind of what I want to do. So yeah, there's a lick, and oh, no, wrong person to lick. But yeah, she got a bunch of her health back, which is nice. You can do this to make sure corruption doesn't get too particularly full of itself. But otherwise, it's not that useful as an ability because you have to waste a turn doing it, and you really want to be getting those attacks out because monsters, if they're left alone for too long, can do massive amounts of damage. I keep forgetting not to attack with her, but that's kind of annoying.
I'll do this.
But anyway, better guard the weakest person I've got because they have the AI in this game has this annoying tendency to just dogpile the weakest person you've got. I hate games that do that just because it just seems completely unnecessary as an AI thing, but there you go.
I'll do this. I'm strong.
But yeah, if you the basic idea is just to combine licking and all of that to keep either keep your corruption down or to get people into massacre mode, which means they can basically just kick people's asses, which would be great if it just wasn't a pain in the ass to manage that sort of thing in the first place. I imagine that I have to go back and get her cleaned up, and then she'll just be able to go back through massacre mode. I'm not entirely sure what the big deal is with that there, but oh well. But as I was saying about the nightmares, you literally just have to knock a piece off them while they're taking massive points of damage off you. And there are a lot of boss enemies in this game. The regular enemies, they aren't a pushover, but at the same time, when you have to deal with just regular enemies that can't particularly hurt you, more often than not, it's okay. I mean, they're not particularly damaging, but at the same time, let your guard down for too long and they will wipe the floor with you. But at the same time, the boss monsters just come along and can just absolutely wreck you. Like, there are seriously monsters that seem to have, like, no real difficulty to them, outside of them literally just beating the ever-loving shit out of your party by attacking 3 or 4 times in a row for no discernible reason, and it's infuriating. It is legit infuriating. Like, I'm not entirely sure why so many enemies in this game feel the need to do that, but they do, and it's absolutely annoying as hell.
Watch me.
Right, I keep forgetting. I have to use magic with her, with Thumbelina.
We won.
And doing that, and just having to deal with that sort of shit, more often than not, is just a massive downtrod to this game, because the rest of this game's dungeon crawling really isn't that interesting. And it's really not helped out by the fact that the loot system in this game is absolutely retarded, and we'll get onto why that is shortly. Very shortly, in fact, because I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the way forward, but yeah, the whole licking stuff and just, like, all the basic gameplay that this game's got going for it really doesn't do that much for me, because, well, it's just a basic dungeon crawler, except there's a bunch of licking going on, which is something I didn't think I'd be saying, but then again, this is the PlayStation Vita we're talking about. This does tend to happen sometimes. Oh great, here comes another battle. Thankfully, we can do auto battle, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Although, we did just get someone going to Blood Skelter, we just lost 4 of our party members. Unbelievable. I'm not even sure what happened there. That went to shit real fast. Alright, we're going back. Actually, hang on. Yeah, I've got a... Whoops. I have got a full blood thing now, so let's head on back. Because this is something you actually have to do from time to time, because the game is pretty grind heavy, I have to say. It took me a really long time to even get up to the level of the monsters I was fighting on normal, so... Yeah. Let's go back to the Dawn HQ and see if we can molest someone now.
Welcome.
You know perfectly well it's going to be molestation. You know it. I don't even know what it is. I've seen the tutorial prompt that... Yeah.
Be gentle, okay?
Right. Controls. Controls? Controls. Analog stick moves it.
Tickles.
Touchscreen
What?
apparently doesn't do anything.
What?
The game didn't actually give me controls for this. What the fuck? Holding the shoulder buttons, pressing the face buttons, pressing the start button. Really? The start button shows you the controls all the fucking time.
Maybe next time.
Purge complete, purge failed, both at the same time. Okay, tell me the controls, please. I'm just watching for the controls. I don't think I can actually see any in this cutscene. The story is pretty boring, honestly. The characters aren't particularly great. The actual, like, voice acting and stuff is fine, I said, but they really don't have that much to work with. The writing isn't very interesting, and all the characters just seem like really flat translations. No real flavor to them, which is kind of boring, actually. But anyway,
You want to do a
let's try this again. So, notice how pressing select this time actually shows you the controls. That happens every single time, except for this one, apparently. Actually, you know what? Just to make sure I'm not missing something and I'm not an idiot, let me go back to the actual tutorial and make sure that... Purge. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, using the Purge. The effects of purging stay until you leave the dungeon. Yeah, rub Jack's blood. Do I have to rub the actual blood, do I? Okay, that kind of makes sense. They could have been a little more specific about that. That's kind of annoying, but... Alright, let's do this. Again.
Be gentle, okay?
Alright. Rub the blood. Really should have thought of rubbing the blood first. I am kind of an idiot for not thinking to rub the blood, but... The game itself wasn't very specific about it either, so give me a little bit of a break here, will ya? Yeah, there we go. That is basically just the usual set of molestation from this sort of game. Max HP temporarily increased, and... Yeah, now that we've done it, we can actually skip it. See? So you can actually skip it now. So once you've done that with everybody, you can literally just do it for all these characters. But yeah. So let's actually go menu diving now. We already did a little bit of menu diving before we left, but let's do the rest. There's not actually that much to do. You have an item screen, which shows you all the items you've got, all the loot you've got, all of the usual stuff. The loot in this game is really dull. Like, seriously. Like, look at all this loot and tell me if any of this is particularly interesting. Sure, it's like stats, but that's basically it. You can't do any sort of loot customization other than just leveling them up. And you don't get anything along the lines of Demon Gaze, where you can go and put it into... You can get gems to put into a loot generator, or you can hide in Stranger Assault see for loot. There's nothing like that. It's literally just go around and hope you can find some decent shit. That's basically all there is to the loot in this title. Skills. So you can have skills normally, and you have a maximum amount of skills you can hold, and then you have to actually set your skills, and create your skills, I should say. So you can create your skills by using CP, which you get via leveling up. And as you can see, they each get all of their own individual levels, and they all take a certain amount of CP to unlock or level up. You can also change jobs, and when you change jobs, you keep all of the stuff you've unlocked, as far as I'm aware, but I don't think I can actually change anyone's job yet to actually check, which is kind of annoying. You can also upgrade their job specifications, which is actually quite useful. Like, for example, Sleeping Beauty with her gigantic knockers for some reason. I don't know why Sleeping Beauty feels the need to have gigantic knockers, but there you go. You can upgrade all these little individual abilities to make them just that slight bit better at their jobs. You can also change their blood abilities, or just change the order of them, really, but this doesn't seem necessary. Not really, anyway. You can also change the formation. It's got the basic formation. If you're in the back, you take half physical damage, and you give half physical damage unless you've got the items you need. Very, very simple stuff. Of course, you can come and check their status for all their equipment and such. So you can see that you've got a weapon, a neck thing, 2 arm things, and a piece of armor. And there's your stats. Really basic stuff. Nothing particularly out of the ordinary. You can come to your library to check your quests, your monster bestiary, your profile. I'm not even sure. Oh yeah, I didn't look at this before, but as you can see, there's little character bios. She conveys her feelings through head nods and always look tired and sleepy. Yeah, half of her dialogue in this game is her just saying, yep, yep, yep. That is basically all she says in this entire game so far. I mean, I've been with her in the entire second dungeon. Half her lines are literally just her saying yep or yep yep in a tired tone, which, to be fair, Sleeping Beauty kind of makes sense. Doesn't make for a very good character, but anyway. And of course, you can also come down to system here. You can save in some places and load in everywhere, which is, you know, all the really basic stuff. That's pretty much it, really. Oh, wait, no, I almost forgot the most important part that I came out to talk about. So, I said I would talk about the game's resource system. There is something that you can actually do in order to, like, the thing that you need to upgrade your weapons, and to give you better jobs, and to upgrade your skill slots. The blood gems. Now, the blood crystals, I should say. Now, the blood crystals are really fucking annoying. You want to know why? I'll just pick Alice, for example. Look over on the right. See all those different kinds of blood crystals. Now, if I press triangle to get to my menu in a place where I can go check my items, and you can see the amount of blood crystals I've got. These are the blood crystals that you need in order to get stuff. And now, I don't know about you, but imagine if I'm looking for a specific kind of blood crystal. I have no idea where to go and get a specific kind of blood crystal to do a specific thing. And even then, I'm gonna have some trouble remembering the name. Like, who's gonna remember that they need an ABRH- blood crystal? Who's gonna remember that? Seriously, I find this to be kind of retarded as a system. I'm guessing this is just one of those things that you're meant to, like, sit back and not really pay much attention to. I guess? But at the same time, considering so much of the important stuff in the game needs a lot of these blood crystals, I'm not entirely sure what they're going for here. I mean, like, look at how much blood crystals it costs to change a job. Like, I don't even have enough to get into any specific job that I... What does it mean out of 6 isn't enough? I don't even know. It's taken me a really long while just to get the blood crystals I need for any of these particular jobs. So yeah. Just imagine how long it would take to figure out where specific kinds of blood crystals are coming from, and where to find them, and what you want to use them on.
Come again.
That whole system just seems designed to trip you up. It honestly seems like the most annoying thing in the world. But yeah, here we are back in the, Here we are back in the temple. Just to go back and do some more gameplay. Oh, look at Emotion Point. Which just grows libido a little. I don't even know why that's a thing. Like, why is it called libido? I'm not even entirely sure. You actually brought that up by opening chests. And finding signposts. And, like, memos that give you little hints on what you need to do to get around the dungeon. Which are, like, really freaking obvious.
Look at what I found.
But yeah, it's... Yeah, can you tell that I'm not very enthused? This game is just... It really just doesn't do anything that special. Here I am looking at things like The Lost Child, where it doesn't look particularly amazing, but at least it's got some neat art and ideas going for it, and it's a continuation of a different game. And then you've got games like Covenant, Labyrinth, and Refrain, which I also want to come over here. Preferably by nicer, because, you know, they have a general idea of what they're doing with the,
Here I go.
They have a general idea of what they're doing with that. It's basically just the Disgaea team, so if anyone's gonna do that sort of localization right, it's gonna be the Disgaea team. Right, it's her. I keep forgetting to use her fucking spells.
Ready.
Here I go. Ha!
This might look easy, but if I was playing on normal or hard, I'd probably be getting my ass kicked right now. Chances are. But this game just does nothing for me. I've been playing for the past 5 hours, and I'm just bored. Like, I don't find anything in particular that will keep me coming back to this one. It doesn't have that unique loot system. It doesn't have that cool theme. I mean, it does have the whole fairy tale theme, but it's been 5 hours and it's done fucking nothing with it, which is surprisingly annoying. It doesn't have fun combat. It's just really basic combat with just a couple of little tweaks here and there. And it runs terribly in the little dungeon delving sections, which makes the controls laggy and rather unpleasant to use. It just doesn't do anything interesting at all, and I'd rather be playing Demon Gaze or Covenant, Labyrinth, Refrain or anything other than this, just because, you know, anything else will well, anything else that's original. I'm probably in the same spot with this as I am compared to like Mayq Labyrinth of Death, but at least Mayq had the gigantic mechs and actually had them like matter in a gameplay sense, a controllable gameplay sense, I should say, because you know, you could actually control the mechs. In this game, you've got this whole blood Skelter thing that's annoyingly hard to figure out.
There. I'll do this.
It's just, yeah.
No, you don't.
It's just surprisingly annoying.
Let's do this. Ouch.
But anyway, after this,
Hey.
quick battle.
My turn.
I'm just gonna speed through by pressing square.
Let's do this. We won.
You do also have another auto battle mode, which will let you just, like, do the previous action. So, you know, you don't have to rely on just attacks. Which is nice, I guess. But, frankly, I don't care. I don't plan on playing this game again anyway. We'll just load from the middle of the dungeon. We will load into my second save game, which has the Nightmare Battle about to happen in it. So, this isn't going to be like the regular Nightmare Battle you'd run across in the middle of the dungeon, because that is completely random as far as I can tell. It is the final end of the dungeon Nightmare Battle, and you'll be able to get a rough idea of how it works. I believe my difficulty is still on easy. I just want to make sure that it is just to be safe. By the way, this game does a couple of other annoying things that, one of them I can't remember right now, which is annoying. I had it before I started this recording, but, so that magician over on the right there, you don't actually have any of her skills once you get her, so I ended up going into the battle with the Nightmare with her being completely and utterly useless because I forgot to actually equip it with any fucking skills. That was a little bit embarrassing, but to be fair, have you ever heard of a dungeon crawler that gives you absolutely nothing to work with as soon as you get the character? It's kind of annoying like that, actually. Also, whenever you see an icon like that, run away and save before you go to it, because seriously, you can literally pull up infinite save points using the rabbit hole, because you can literally just use this to save or go back to the main thing. So, do that every time you see this icon if you want to pick this game up. But yeah. I will skip the cutscene, because it's literally just going to put us in the middle of a weird courtyard in the middle of nowhere with the Nightmare. And I want to have I would like to take the ability to explain what the Nightmare does while it's actually doing it. So, I don't even know what this is about, but yeah, as you can see, there's the Nightmare coming for us. But we can run for it, and we just got stabbed. So as you can see, it detects how far away we are from the Nightmare. And if you actually get far enough away, it will, like, stop coming. Like, you saw that little red line on the ground there. That's the Nightmare's sensor vision, which is a little bit of a weird thing to say. But if you get outside of that, that's when it'll stop coming for you. But considering that I've literally just destroyed the core, and the game has told me this before, you can't actually run from the Nightmare. So what happens is, if the Nightmare actually catches up to you, you can choose to start the battle, and it gets a free attack, because of course it does. And the first part of the battle is the same as it would be in the regular game, where you basically just have to try and destroy a part of it. So, these are actually all weak to different elements. I just need to remember what's weak to what. Apparently I'm having absolutely no luck with this. I better use Helio just to make sure that everybody stands a chance of lasting more than a few seconds.
Here I go.
Alright, Thumbelina, I want you to Rising Flame, because I know Rising Flame is weak for one of them. There we go. So we broke a couple of parts off there. Actually, I think we broke everything. Yeah, we broke everything in one shot. That's easy difficulty for you. Also, she's like level 17 for some reason when you pick her up. So, yeah. Whatever. So anyway, yeah, the Nightmare is now broken down, and it charges you as a regular monster, and then you just go through a regular battle with it. Which is a shame. I was hoping for something a little bit more creative. Like, I remember was it Dungeon Travelers? That did something similar to this, but actually kept the fights, like, ever so slightly more interesting. I can't really remember. I'm honestly drawing a blank right now, but yeah, you get the general idea of how this game works and what it does and all that, and I am honestly not that impressed. I find myself being bored more often than not trying to play this. It doesn't really have that much going for it. I find it to be quite dull and uninteresting. I'd like it more if it took more advantage of its theme, but it just doesn't take more advantage of its theme, which is really unfortunate, just because it just... Like, why wouldn't you take advantage of this entire fairy tale theme and have it be based off actual fairy tale monsters? I don't know if this is based off a fairy tale monster, which might actually be really bad for me, because if this thing is based off a real fairy tale monster, I'm gonna look like a fucking moron, but... I can't really say I know that much about fairy tales, do I? But yeah, let's just pretend that I know what I'm talking about. That's a thing. Let's pretend that I know what I'm talking about. That I'm not a complete moron. But anyway,
It's my turn. All out. It's my
there
turn.
are a fair few annoying things about this game.
Ouch.
It does work as your basic dungeon crawler.
Leave it to you.
Wow. Good night, Red Riding Hood. 400 damage in one fucking go. Jesus.
Time to do this.
That kind of sucks massive dicks.
Hurt?
That does actually happen a lot. I honestly don't know why that happens as much as it does, but it does for some reason.
Here I go. All out.
Yikes! Leave it to me.
Oh, right. Surge.
Prepare yourself.
Here I go.
And it's just like, this whole gameplay here, some kind of neat ideas, but it just doesn't really change that much.
Snow White's turn.
It doesn't do that much for me. I find myself not enjoying it that much. I should be using one of the fucking revive items that I have. Why am I not doing that? Because I'm an idiot.
Do this. Go.
I don't need to answer that question for you. If you've been watching my channel for long enough, you know that I'm an idiot. Yep, 2 attacks. Huh. No, he didn't actually get a third one. That is really frustrating. Sometimes they just get random attacks out of nowhere, like seriously. The first time I tried to fight this guy, he had 3 attacks in a row, and that was more than enough to knock out all 3 of the party members I had alive and kicking at the time, and it was infuriating. I hate games that do shit like that. It just seems unbalanced. This game's idea of difficulty, as I said before, literally just seems to be throw monsters at them that can attack more than once per turn, and that's pretty much it.
Here I go. Go. I'll beat you, silly.
My turn.
I don't think I've got any items that'll really help out here. Actually, I do. I'm lying about that. Small med kit.
Here.
50 HP isn't that much, but it's something.
Here I go.
And I might as well just X-heal her again, because she's not going to get much use in the rest of the fight.
Ouch.
It's mainly just keeping Thumbelina alive at this point. Attack number 2 hurts her, of course it does. Another thunder attack.
I'll do my best.
Another Helia, because why the hell not? No reason not to at this point.
Here I go. Take this.
Here I go.
Nice critical.
How's this?
Thank you very much.
Wish I knew how much HP it had left. It's kind of hard to tell. I'm just gonna hold the R button. Oh, apparently I won by counter damage. I didn't even have to do anything. There we go.
I'll do my very best.
Wow, this video, well, this recording is 50 minutes long. Admittedly, this video is still going to be about 50 minutes by the time I edit it down a little, but yeah. That was a look at Mary Skelter Nightmares. Really basic, generic dungeon crawler, doesn't do anything particularly special. I only recommend it if you're absolutely striving for a... If you're absolutely desperate for a dungeon crawler in this day and age. Just because it's so... It's just so basic. It really is. Nothing particularly special about it. Chapter 3.
The little birdie's returned. Looks like your precious little birdie that was lost is back too.
I really don't know what the deal with that is, but I imagine it's part of the plot. Just waiting to get back to the main menu. Ooh,
Whoa.
booby girl. You know what? I'm not even gonna bother. I remember how long this cutscene is now. It took me like 4 minutes just to sit through with just pressing the X button, skim reading, and moving on to the next. So yeah, I'm just gonna end the video there. So this has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.